September 2nd, 1945. The world was silent, but it wasn't a peaceful silence. It was the silence of exhaustion. After 6 years of war, entire cities had vanished, millions were dead, and the planet felt unrecognizable. World War II was coming to an end, but its final day was more than just a conclusion. It was a moment that would reshape history forever. Months earlier, in Europe, the war had already ended. Nazi Germany had fallen, Berlin was in ruins, and Adolf Hitler was no longer alive. For many, it felt like everything was over, but it wasn't. On the other side of the world, Japan was still fighting. Surrounded, with its navy nearly destroyed and its cities under constant bombardment, the country refused to surrender. To give up was seen as dishonor. Then, in August 1945, something happened that changed the course of the war completely. The United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. In a matter of seconds, the city was almost erased. Days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. The impact wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The world had just entered the nuclear age. More than 200,000 people died, directly or indirectly, and for the first time, humanity witnessed the true scale of its own destructive power. Faced with this reality, Japan had no real options left. Continuing the fight would mean total annihilation. Then, something unprecedented happened. For the first time in history, the Emperor of Japan spoke directly to his people. Hirohito announced the surrender. For many Japanese citizens, it was shocking. The emperor was considered divine. Hearing his voice admitting defeat was unthinkable until that moment. But reality had overcome ideology. And so, we arrive at the final day of the war. On the morning of September 2nd, 1945, Japanese representatives boarded a massive American battleship, the USS Missouri, BB-63. The atmosphere was heavy. There was no celebration in that moment, only the weight of history being written. There, in front of Allied officials, documents were presented. Pens were placed on the table, and one by one, the Japanese representatives signed the official surrender. No gunfire, no explosions, just ink on paper. But that simple act marked the end of years of devastation. The war was finally over. More than 70 million dead, families shattered, nations in ruins, and a world forever changed. But the end of the war did not bring immediate peace. Instead, it introduced a new kind of tension. Soon after that day, the world began to split into two major powers. On one side, the United States. On the other, the Soviet Union. And so began the Cold War, a conflict without direct battles, but with the constant fear of another war. This time with nuclear weapons. The final day of World War II was not just the end of a conflict. It was the beginning of a new era. An era where humanity learned it had the power to destroy itself completely. And maybe that's the most important lesson of all. Wars end, but their consequences last forever.